Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is looking at the strawberry full moon in Sagittarius on June 11th, 2025. This is happening in my time zone, which is the central time zone in the United States, at 2:44 a.m. If you live in Europe, it will probably be, I don't know, maybe like 8 o'clock or 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock your time in the morning. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it might be closer to midnight. I don't know exactly how many hours difference I have from people. It'll probably be sometime in the evening. So I think everybody's going to have it on the 11th, but if it's on the 12th, it'll probably be early in the morning. And so this is the strawberry moon because in the Native Americans would name these moons, but this is also a European thing too. And it would be like connected to the seasons and connected to what was happening agriculturally and other things in nature. And this is a time when strawberries are ripening. And there are other names too. Almanac.com always has this information, so it's kind of fun to look at. They talk about names like the blooming moon because of the flowers, and the green corn moon. That was the Cherokee Native American people. And that's because the corn is still growing. And I'll tell you, we don't get corn probably until early August, I would think, or late July, early August. So it still has a ways to go when you're in the mid-June period. So anyway, I want to talk about what the energy is around this full moon, because a lot of people have been saying that things have intensified recently, and I know in my life that has certainly been the case, and some of you may agree as well, but you don't always automatically say it's because of something astrological. You might be going through something in your personal life that doesn't seem to reflect the energies. But one of the things that has happened right before this is that Jupiter has changed signs into Cancer. So at the time of this full moon, Jupiter will be at 0 degrees of Cancer. And the reason that this is significant, well, first of all, we recently had 2 planets go into Aries. We had Saturn and we had Neptune. Actually, Neptune went in first. And at the time of this full moon, Neptune is only at 2 degrees of Aries. And let's see, Saturn is at 1 degree of Aries, but both of them are close enough to square Jupiter. And what this means, when you have Jupiter squaring, one of these outer planets, is that it can show that there is excess. And it depends on how these planets come together. So for instance, with Jupiter squaring Neptune, it can be the height of deception. There can be a lot going on with that. And I mean, not that we haven't had that already, but we had Neptune in Pisces that kind of already specialized in that. And then with Saturn and Jupiter squaring off to one another, it's really like, I think it's a frustration because Saturn in Aries is about learning to become autonomous. Aries is the ruler of the first house of the self. So it represents the self. And Saturn is like the authority figure, but it can be also just like discipline in general and how we apply it to our lives. But when they're in a hard angle, I was talking about Aries and I was talking about Saturn, but I'm talking about Jupiter and a hard angle to Jupiter, Jupiter can be excess. Jupiter, if we think of Jove is another word for the god Jupiter, is jovial. It's about being happy-go-lucky. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is a sign known for that. My sun's sign, and I understand about this because it's like sometimes people, especially Sagittarius, but there are other signs that are like this as well. They just want to have fun in life. And it's like, why do I have all this serious stuff that I have to do? Why do I have to do all this grown-up stuff that is Saturn stuff? And so it clashes when it forms a hard angle like that. And this may be things that you're going through personally, where, part of you wants to let loose and part of you may be even constricted by some outer force, and you're not prevented and you are prevented from doing that. And also Jupiter represents freedom and, like growth, expansion, things like that. And Saturn can be constriction. So there could be, and both of those are valid places to be. We always talk about growth, but sometimes growth can get excessive. If you're trying to open your mind and you're trying to explore things, you could end up, just wandering around from one teaching to another and never truly applying it. And Saturn is the applying of something, because that's where you exert your discipline and you're very organized and you're consistent and systematic, and that's what I see when I think of Saturn and discipline. So these can be themes that are, people are grappling with. But looking at the sun and the moon, the sun being in Gemini and the moon being in Sagittarius, when you have a full moon in Sagittarius, the first word that came to my mind was whistleblower. And that's because Gemini could be like the town crier. And Sagittarius is like the higher mind. And it's looking at things from the broader perspective of wisdom. So when we talk about like scandals that erupt or something that was, and I'm not just talking about political scandals, it can be anything that, or Hollywood scandals. I'm talking about just like things that we trusted that turn out to be corrupt. And that we put a lot of faith in, and we find out that they were really corrupt. It's like if you donated to a charity and you find out that they were misappropriating funds, your heart was in the right place, but now it's like you don't trust them because they were, pretending like they actually cared. And it's like, wow, it's easy to get disillusioned. But when you look at it from the broader perspective, you can see that maybe that disillusionment served a higher purpose, because it asked of you, like, what are you putting your faith in? Why are you trusting outer entities versus yourself? There's a certain sovereignty with Sagittarius because it is so much in love with freedom. But freedom comes with a cost, you could say. And that cost is that it's on you, meaning that sometimes I think people don't realize it, but when they don't accept responsibility for their life, then they can blame somebody else if they're being controlled by another entity when they did not take action themselves. And so people don't necessarily know this consciously. They're kind of just used to not feeling powerful enough, or not wanting to take responsibility, preferring to have somebody else tell them what to do. But it comes with that payoff of like, oh, well, you told me something that didn't work out well, so I'm still not responsible because I listened to your bad advice. So This could be a truth-telling new moon. I mean, full moon, because full moons can bring out things that were hidden. And, you know, I have said this at different times in the past, especially in the past couple of years, and it doesn't always fall on the exact day of the full moon, but there are things that are kind of like we're right on the edge. We're waiting to hear more information before things really pop off. And that's what it feels like. And because Gemini and Sagittarius are mutable signs, there can be a lot of maneuvering. And there can be a lot of things that happen at a fast clip. Mercury is in Cancer, so there is a sensitivity when it comes to communication. It's in conjunction with Jupiter. So it's a great time to express yourself, and that can come in a myriad of forms, whether you're a writer or whether you, and by the way, being a writer is different things for different people, whether it's a novelist or somebody who is writing something that is nonfiction, or you're writing a blog and you're not writing a book. It doesn't matter. All of these things are featured here. Or learning a new skill. This can be a great time for that. But it's especially great if you're somebody who is a history buff. It'd be a great time to get, like, if you love a certain period of history, get a book on that and just crack it open and enjoy it, because you're going to be really thinking about the past when Mercury is in Cancer. And of course, with Jupiter, it blows everything up regarding the past. Venus is in Taurus and Mars is in Leo. It's funny because these are signs that square off, but they're too far apart to do so. And as a matter of fact, because one is an early degree and one's a late degree, they actually form a trine. And that's because the Leo is almost in Virgo, the Mars in Leo, and Venus is at an early degree of Taurus. I get a feeling that this is going to be really good for money, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So we have a connection that way. And in addition to that, Venus is in Taurus, the sign that it rules. Taurus is the ruler of the second house of earned income and possessions. So it suggests to me that there is a lot of abundance available here, especially since Jupiter had just gone into Cancer 2 days earlier. And we have Mars in Leo. That can create a lot of drama. That can create a lot of people kind of in their egos, kind of trying to do things coming from that perspective. And we have a square between Mars and Uranus, which is, Uranus is very nonconformist and it's revolutionary. So if you, and there is a rally a few days later that weekend on the 14th. So this will not be obviously on the same date as that, but that aspect might certainly be still in play. So even though I'm doing this about the full moon, I'll just kind of, make people aware that it's very important to, even if you consider yourself an activist or you really believe strongly in something, I'm not saying that you should never take part in any demonstrations or anything like that, but be very aware of what you're doing and never getting kind of egged on, because this could indicate erratic behavior and somebody doing something maybe even out of their character that might have adverse consequences. If somebody's in a volatile relationship, be very careful because, like I said, with full moons can bring relationship issues to the forefront. And with Venus in Taurus and Mars in Leo, these are both fixed signs. And there could be a lot of possessiveness and, like jealousy issues that come up. And actually, Gemini and Sagittarius are all about freedom, and the exact opposite, like not being possessed by somebody or not possessing someone. So this is actually a really good issue to explore. And in some cases, a person may realize, if they feel like they're with somebody that doesn't seem like they're committed, to admit that to themselves and not to, kind of go on and try to force that person to be something that they're not. Because some people, either they need to live more, live life longer without any kind of committed relationship before they might be like a late bloomer in love, in other words, and they're not really ready to settle down. So it doesn't make sense to try to force the issue, but to really accept people where they're at. But if you're looking for a relationship, or you thought you were in a relationship, this could be a wake-up call, I suppose. And, are you kind of like motivated to be jealous, to be possessive, to think that you own someone, because of whatever your feelings are? Mercury in Cancer, that can also be, even though it's Mercury, it's the way that you think, and you can be thinking in a Cancerian type of way, which can be very clingy. And I'm talking about the more challenging aspects of the sign of Cancer. Can be somebody who is maybe a little bit timid about or insecure about their relationship. And there's a sentimental quality of Cancer, and Jupiter in Cancer will bring that out, especially since at this time they're forming a conjunction, and you may just take a trip down memory lane that night. I know I do this occasionally myself, and it doesn't have to be, with this astrological configuration. I think we all do it sometimes when we're just like, we might be just listening to music from when we were in high school or grammar school, and like really reminiscing about the past. And I think there's a lot of that going on. So it can be quite good for those kinds of pursuits. It's very interesting because the Sun and Mercury both form a conjunction with Jupiter, which can be really great for positive thinking and just being in a positive mood. But then there's also a square between Mercury and Saturn, which can lead to pessimism. So this goes along with what I was saying about that square between Jupiter and Saturn. You're going to have to just be comfortable with kind of that seesaw of maybe 1 minute feeling very positive, like you can do everything, and then saying, oh, that'll never work. It's contradictory for sure, but you can laugh at it, if you can identify it and you realize that it's happening. There's a trine, which is the most cooperative angle between Venus and Mars, which is great for relationships and love, and kind of that balance between the physical and the emotional love. But there's also a sextile between Venus and Jupiter, which is, I feel that can be good for money because both of those planets can be connected to money, and they're forming harmonious angle. So I really, I'll be honest with you, I think there's a lot of good stuff here compared to the full moons that I've been talking about in 2025. I think this one seems really nice. And I hope that all of you will be able to take advantage of being able to see it and just enjoy the energy. It's, when full moon time comes, even days before, you can usually sense it. There's a high energy, and of course, this is going to be in a fire sign in Sagittarius. So it can be very energizing, and, in other words, it can be uplifting. So that can be great too. So anyway, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this and are looking forward to the full moon in Sagittarius. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.